In the 70s and 80s, if a person came to a doctor and said that they wanted a sex change, the doctor, being the person who looks out for the person's well-being, the sanity and health, including physical and mental health, would send the person to a series of psychological evaluation, psychiatric tests, hormone checks, mental chemical balance tests to determine if the person was sound of body and mind. And if, and only if, that person completely passed all of those tests with flying colors, and I do mean 100% in all of the tests, then the doctor would then ask the person again, were they really sure that they were interested in getting a sex change? They would then have to have a 30-day waiting period after that last question to give a cooling off period for them to come back and still say yes. So they went to the doctor. The doctor ordered all of these tests for months. Then after the tests were passed with flying colors, 100%, they went to the doctor again. The doctor asked, were they really sure? If they said yes, they would still have another 30 days, at which time they were to determine if they were really sure, and then they would come back. So to even go from point A to B would take approximately a year. So obviously, in medical terms, doctors, and even today, have determined that having a sex change operation is a mental disorder. Mostly the people who asked for sex change operations were men. So in discussing this, I determined that men asking for sex change operations were not asking because they really felt like women trapped in men's bodies. They saw how society treated women. And this is not through the power of women or men alone, as far as society is concerned and how they treat women. This is how feminists have come to redefine the role of a woman. So the role of a woman, as defined by feminists, is that men are to pay attention to women. Men are to pay for everything for women. Men are to bow down to women. This feminist message is repeated over and over and over in advertisement, in movies, in commercials even, in magazine ads, in stories, in the news. It's always pounded in, pounded in, pounded in. In the 1800s, in the 1900s, men and women actually sort of acted on an equal footing. A woman had responsibilities. Since the 90s, with the advent of the third wave of feminism, the role of the female has been redefined. Men are to give their money to women through whatever means, including taxes, including marriage, including child support. And that is the last straw, that a woman can get money from a man simply, allegedly, for supporting a child. And if you look at all of child support decisions, it is always above and beyond what it actually costs to raise a child 24 hours a day. No child on this planet costs $1,000 a month, bi-weekly, every week, to support. In fact, in reality, no middle-class human being, adult male or adult female, cost $1,000 to support. We're not talking about room and board. We're not talking about rent. We're not talking about electricity. We're talking about basic needs. That is food, clothing, what have you. There is no child on this planet in the middle class, and most of this is middle class and below, that takes $1,000 a month to support. I don't care if he signed up for every soccer, football, fencing, tennis, art, theater, after school program in the histories of any school. This was promoted and promulgated by feminists. A lot of women don't understand what is going on. Given everything that I just said, this is why I believe we have these requests by men to have sex change operations. They can deny it if they want to, but the medical doctors have determined that it is a psychological imbalance. Even if they pass all the tests on their actual medical sheet, they are written down as having a psychological disorder, as a matter of fact. Now, the psychological tests and all those other things that they pass with 100% say that they have this psychological disorder, but all things being equal, they have passed all these other tests to determine if they are healthy mentally and physically in these other areas. And that's what they're determining. They're not determining if you have the psychological disorder to begin with, because you have the psychological disorder to begin with. That's not the determination. They're trying to see, are you a normal human in every other aspect? Can you hold down a job? Do you take responsibilities for yourself? Let's get into the psychological disorder then. The psychological disorder then is that, and I think it is, that a man sees how society treats women as defined through the feminist notion of a woman. I know plenty of women who pay their own way through dinner, who don't accept being treated to a dinner, dancing in a movies by a man, that they actually want to get to know a man for him and not for him treating her to dinner. Because let's be honest, as adults in this economy, if you are accepting to go onto a date and you expect a man to pay for your date, you are not there to get to know the man. You are looking for a free meal. That's in today. We're not talking 50 years ago. We're not talking about the 1950s and how things were run then. We're talking about 2014. In this day and age, you are made aware of that if you are going out on a date with a man and he's treating you to dinner, dancing in a movie, and you don't have to pay anything, even the popcorn, the $5 popcorn and a $10 Coca-Cola and the $12 Icon mics at the movie theater, and you're not reaching into your purse to pay for anything, you are taking advantage of that human being. This is a new day and age. The whole dating thing has completely been removed from the 1950s. It's no longer that. You are no longer trying to seek to get to know a man. You are getting a free meal. The man is just incidental to the thing. And this is what these men who say that they are have this female trapped inside of them are looking at. Let's be honest. Let's not try and sugarcoat it and put some sort of Walt Disney sort of veneer over it, that you feel that you should run through the fields and have a big long golden wig on and a flowing dress, a pink flowing dress, and that this is how you really feel. Oh no, that's not how you really feel. What you really feel is that people should bow down to you simply because you are a female. And this is the idea and the picture that these men have in their brains. We have formulated this fantasy about women because of feminism that has broken the psychology and psychiatry of these men. And this is not even how females really are. I know plenty of women who will pay their own way, who will ask me out on a date. So let's get to the story at hand. Now we have women doing the exact opposite. But they're not actually going the whole way. I have a story for you as a case in point, as an example. The person goes by the name of Buck Angel. She says that she felt like she was a man trapped in a female body. Now, when she heard that it was possible to have a complete transformation into a male, that's when she went from being super feminine female model into being a man. So you're following it? You're following it, right? I think it's a question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. If you can follow the example, right? Did she feel this way at first? Or did she see that women were getting transformed into men, men transformed into women, and women were being transformed into men, and then that information transformed her into wanting to do this? There are a lot of women out there who, because of, again, the feminist idea of women, or the feminist definition of women, that women are weak, and that men see women as weak, that men see women as useless, that men see women as something only good for one thing, that she felt that definition was true for her, and that she felt weak and useless and what have you, and then wanted to transform herself into a man to feel powerful and all this other stuff. You see how somebody's psychology can turn something into reality for themselves, right? It's not that she said, well, you know what, I'm going to get some education, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to learn a skill, and I'm going to go out and then I'm going to make my own money and make something of myself. Now, why am I talking about that? What is it about this woman who transformed into a man that she didn't felt like, or what evidence do I have that she didn't feel like she could transform herself from a weak woman into a strong woman? Well, she was a model before. She was never a supermodel. Did I say supermodel? She was never a supermodel, and she went from modeling to prostitution. Now, we can say what we want about prostitution, it's consenting adults and what have you, but the psychological effect is that the woman does in fact feel inferior, even to other women. So instead of her bettering herself and transforming herself psychologically into a strong woman, she transfers herself into a big buff kind of guy. Kind of, because she didn't have any operations. Now, she takes tons of testosterone to the point that she has a beard. She has a huge manly body. Her hair has fallen out. She never really had hair, but her hair has fallen out and she has a shaved head. Her voice has transformed from a woman into a man's voice. And she explained that going from female to male, hormone injections transform the female vocal cords into male vocal cords. Going from male to female never touches the vocal cords whatsoever, because female hormones don't touch the vocal cords. It's the DNA of the woman that maintains the female or the regular human vocal cords. In puberty, men's DNA and hormones transforms the boy voice, or I should say the normal human voice of a child, into the vocal cords of a man. There is a transformation there. In a woman, there is no transformation. Child to adult woman, there is no transformation. Those aren't even touched. So a man trying to transform into a female, unless he gets the hormones injections as a child, he's going to go through the transformation, and the hormones after that transformation have absolutely no effect whatsoever. So you're going to end up with somebody who looks like a woman that sounds like Barry White or James Earl. What's his name? James Earl Jones. Now, she still has all of her piping. She says she's fully functional down there, which means she can have children. So if she ever got the notion to have children, here is another piece of information that you may or may not know. She's getting testosterone injections. If she comes off the pill and has a child or has children, I believe scientifically that she will always have male children. Why do I say that? Because scientists have come out and said, regardless of whatever chromosomes that the sperm and the egg have formed or formulated to have, you can change the sex of a potential child in the womb through whatever means. So that means that this injected male testosterone environment that the embryo would have inside of the womb would transform that child from whatever it was into a male. Now, to go even deeper, and I've been talking about this on my Facebook, and all of my Facebook listeners will know the stories. I said it a few times, that to have a female, you have an X that's donated from the mother, and a Y chromosome which is donated by the father, which turns into which transform the embryo into a male child. If the father does not donate a Y chromosome to the embryo, to the child, to the whatever, it turns in from XY and stays as X and X. The negative aspect of it is X. The father has to donate the Y chromosome, and you can only get the Y chromosome from a man, right? So the X donated by the mother and the neutral chromosome is X, right? Well, regardless of that, you can have a whole host of other chromosomes. You can have an XXY child. You can have an XYY child, which is a man. The XXY is a man. You can have an XXX, and you can have an XXYY. Now, the worst of these, or the most strange of these, is the XXYY child, or human being, right? They look, or they have the piping of a man, but they have breasts. They can never grow a beard. They have the slight shoulders of a female. They have the head growth of a female. They have the facial features of a generic human. Is if you could ever design a human to look generic, and the only way you would tell what gender they are was if you put clothes on them. So you basically have a generic looking human in the face. You can't tell if it's a man or a woman. The hair would grow maybe as a woman or man. You could cut it to be whatever you want to. The shoulders are going to look like a woman. The breasts are going to enlarge like a woman, or it could enlarge. They're never going to be complete woman breasts, but they're going to be, like the fat man with breasts that we make fun of. You're going to have those type of breasts on the person. The middle section is always going to be soft. There's not going to be any hardening or muscles or abs, and they will have a penis. It is a total mixing of both genders into one human. My theory is that if this woman has children, she will never have an XX or an XY child. She will have an XXY, XYY, XXX, or an XXYY child. And it comes to this, that we have these people running around with psychological problems, and we can't even reason with them that they have a psychological problem. The doctor goes ahead with the testosterone injections, or the estrogen injections, and you end up with something not quite normal human. But they have tried to seek to identify themselves as normal as can be. There's people who are crazy running out there, homeless, crazy people, but they're functional. They can go to the store, they can feed themselves, but they still aren't 100% sane. This person is not 100% sane. By medical standards, she has a problem. But in this politically correct world, you can't even say that. You can't say this person has a problem. And for people who want to identify this person as a transgender, that doesn't even fit. Because she doesn't identify herself as a lesbian. Because she's not. She still likes men. She's in porno now, and she does straight porn, and straight in terms of the piping going where the piping should, but the upper body is gonna look like a man, right? You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to be classy about this. She doesn't identify herself as lesbian. She doesn't like women. She likes men. She just felt that she was a man trapped in a female's body. Now, so when I say that she isn't a lesbian, so the gay community cannot claim her. The lesbian community cannot claim her. who does she actually fit in? She said that she has come up with her own style or genre of porno. Years ago on the Phil Donahue show, there was a man who said the exact same thing relative to his situation. He felt that he was a woman trapped in a man's body. But this is in the age where sex change operations really were not heard of. I believe the first sex change operation actually occurred in Germany, because the Germans are medically way ahead of us in terms of that and gene splicing and recombinant DNA and all that sort of stuff. And they have always been pushing the edge of that sort of stuff because they are a bit more libertarian in their medical sciences. He did not have a sex change operation, but he was taking injections, and he wore dresses, and he had a wig. And what does this story have to do with Buck Angel? He was married to a woman. So even after all that he did, his wife stood by him, and they had, other than that strangeness about how he looked, they had regular sex. He never was a homosexual. He wasn't gay. He just had this psychological thing going on. This, I believe, is the disconnect and the twisting of the powers that be on the psychology of, I would say, weaker humans. They crack, and they listen to the message, and they crack. And this is what you end up with. Men who want to be women who are not homosexual, women who want to be men and who are not homosexual. They just want to look like it and appear like it, and I guess get all the benefits of being that gender. The woman want to feel strong and she's strong. I saw her on a talk show, and the host of the show said she had bigger arms than him. She was larger than him. Of course, she stays in the gym and takes she says a lot of testosterone, and she is a strong woman. That, of course, looks like a man, but that's what you have. That's what you end up with. I just want to wake people up and show you these extreme examples of what could happen. It's not enough to just say there are these women who have cracked in the black community, who have given into welfare and food stamps and all this sort of stuff. You don't get the message. You say they've cracked, but as much as I say they've cracked, people don't get it. They don't understand. Here is a message to just beat you over the head with it, to make you see how obvious it is. These people are not homosexual. They are as straight as an arrow. They're not going to go with their own gender, but they have cracked and fallen into these various definitions of what a man is and what a female is. For each person, it was the opposite gender that they felt was better than their own gender because of the way society is defining what a female is and what a male is. You know that the feminist third wave is redefining what a female is. And it's not in a good way. They put it out there in the most negative way that they can, so then that they, you create the problem and then you present yourself as the solution, right? The BP oil spill, and then the BP rolls out with, well, we should have drones to patrol the coastline, right? You have the oil spill, and the solution is, of course, worse than the problem. So the feminists present women as weak and domineered by men, and men are evil and so forth and so on, and they are the answer to hate and kill all men. I already did a video about that. This is what's going on, and the people listening to it crack, and there you have it. Here is an example that you cannot deny. You cannot ignore. Tell me what you think about this. I know this was long, but I felt that this was important. I wanted to give you his history, a basis, and what is really going on in our society. And I wanted this to be so obvious to you that you cannot deny it. Thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show. Here's a postscript to this video. In the video, I said that you have a man who changed his gender to a female, and his wife stayed with him. They stayed married. Well, in doing further research, it has come to my attention that when they do that, they run into legal problems, because the man legally transforms his gender from man to woman, and two women cannot be married. So then their marriage is annulled. Everything is just completely, and even with children, then everything is just legally completely ruined. The children no longer have a father. I mean, it just compiled and compiled and compiled, and legally it is a nightmare. Once again, thank you for watching the Shikama Live Show.